shows the launch of the Kalibr cruise missile from its newest Russian diesel-powered submarine.
Russia has successfully launched a Kalibr cruise missile from the Sea of Japan.
The launch of the Kalibr cruise missile from the newest Russian diesel submarine.
The clock strikes midnight in the Black Sea. Deep beneath the surface, a Russian Kalibr-class submarine silently opens its vertical launch tubes. Within seconds, multiple Kalibr cruise missiles burst from the water, their engines igniting as they soar into the night sky. These missiles will travel over 1,100 kilometers, farther than the distance from New York to Chicago, before striking their targets with pinpoint accuracy. All while the submarine that launched them remains completely undetected. This isn't science fiction. This is the reality of Russia's submarine-launched Kalibr cruise missile system, a weapon that has fundamentally changed naval warfare and strategic power projection in the 21st century. Today, we're diving deep into the capabilities, development, and strategic implications of these remarkable weapons that can strike targets over 1,100 kilometers away from submarines lurking silently beneath the waves. The technology behind these missiles represents one of the most significant advances in naval warfare since the introduction of nuclear submarines themselves. If you believe submarines with long-range precision strike capabilities are changing modern warfare, type game changer in the comments below. So, what makes the submarine-launched Kalibr missile system so special? And why should America and its allies be concerned? Let's find out. Origins and development. The Kalibr missile family's story begins in the early 1990s, developed by NPO Novator, one of Russia's premier missile design bureaus. While their development started shortly after the Soviet Union's collapse, these missiles represent the culmination of decades of Russian expertise in cruise missile technology. The name Kalibr, meaning caliber in Russian, encompasses an entire family of cruise missiles with various capabilities. The missiles relevant to our discussion today are primarily the 3M14, the land attack cruise missile variant that has demonstrated ranges exceeding 1,100 kilometers in real-world combat operations. What's particularly impressive is how Russia managed to develop this sophisticated system during a period of economic hardship following the Soviet collapse. While America's defense industry flourished in the 1990s, Russia's military-industrial complex struggled for funding. Yet, they still produced this remarkably advanced weapon system that rivals America's Tomahawk cruise missiles. The Kalibr system was designed from the beginning to be versatile, capable of being launched from surface ships, submarines, and even ground-based platforms. This flexibility has made it the backbone of Russia's naval strike capabilities. But the submarine-launched variant is perhaps the most strategically significant. Unlike surface ships, which can be easily tracked by satellites and reconnaissance aircraft, submarines can approach enemy coastlines undetected, launch their missiles, and disappear without a trace. Technical capabilities. So exactly, what can these missiles do? Let's examine the technical capabilities that make the submarine-launched Kalibr such a formidable weapon. First and most importantly, the range. The 3M14 Kalibr land attack cruise missile has a confirmed range between 1,500 to 2,500 kilometers. That's significantly more than the 1,100 kilometers mentioned in our title, meaning these missiles can actually reach even farther than many analysts initially thought. To put this in perspective, a Russian submarine in the Mediterranean Sea could potentially hit targets throughout all of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. From the Baltic Sea, it could strike virtually any capital city in Europe. This extraordinary reach allows Russian submarines to remain in relatively safe waters while still posing a threat to targets deep within enemy territory. The Kalibr's guidance system is equally impressive. Using a combination of inertial navigation, GLONASS satellite guidance, Russia's equivalent to GPS, and terrain matching systems, these missiles can allegedly strike fixed targets with an accuracy measured in meters, not hundreds of meters, but single-digit meters. The missile follows a complex flight path to reach its target. After launch, it climbs to a cruising altitude, then flies at subsonic speeds, around 500 to 600 miles per hour, following a pre-programmed route. What makes it particularly difficult to defend against is its ability to fly at extremely low altitudes during its terminal approach, using terrain-following radar to stay just a few dozen meters above the ground, making it nearly impossible for many air defense systems to detect. The explosive punch is considerable as well. The standard Kalibr carries a high explosive warhead weighing approximately 450 kilograms, nearly 1,000 pounds. That's enough firepower to destroy hardened military facilities, command centers, or critical infrastructure. And while we're focusing on the conventional variant, it's worth noting that these missiles are also nuclear capable, making them a potential delivery system for tactical nuclear weapons. Perhaps most impressive is the fact that all this capability is packed into a missile small enough to fit inside the standard torpedo tubes and vertical launch systems of Russia's attack submarines. The improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarines can carry up to 4 Kalibr missiles, while larger nuclear-powered submarines can carry even more. Combat history. The world got its first glimpse of the Kalibr's capabilities in October 2015, when Russia launched 26 of these missiles from warships in the Caspian Sea against targets in Syria. These missiles traveled over 1,500 kilometers, crossing Iranian and Iraqi airspace before hitting their targets. What shocked many Western military analysts wasn't just the accuracy of these strikes, but the fact that relatively small Russian naval vessels, corvettes, and frigates now possess the ability to conduct long-range precision strikes comparable to what previously only the US Navy could do with its Tomahawk missiles. But the truly eye-opening moment came in December 2015, when Russia demonstrated the submarine-launched variant. The improved Kilo-class submarine Rostov-on-Don, operating in the Mediterranean Sea, launched multiple Kalibr missiles at targets in Syria. This marked the first ever combat use of submarine-launched cruise missiles by the Russian Navy. The submarine-launched strikes sent a clear message to NATO and other potential adversaries. Russian submarines could now conduct precision strikes from safe waters against targets deep within enemy territory. No longer were submarines limited to their traditional roles of anti-shipping and anti-submarine warfare. Since those initial demonstrations, Russia has used Kalibr missiles extensively in the Syrian conflict, launching them from both surface ships and submarines. And since 2022, these missiles have been used in the Ukraine conflict, again demonstrating their long-range precision strike capabilities. The combat use of these weapons has provided Russia with invaluable operational experience, allowing them to refine tactics and test the missiles' reliability under real-world conditions. It's also served as a very public demonstration of Russian military capabilities, essentially functioning as a live-fire advertisement for potential international customers of Russian weapon systems. Strategic implications. The strategic implications of submarine-launched Kalibr missiles with ranges exceeding 1,100 kilometers are profound, fundamentally changing the nature of naval warfare and power projection. First, these weapons create what military strategists call bubbles of denial, areas where enemy forces cannot operate without significant risk. A single Russian submarine armed with Kalibr missiles can effectively threaten military facilities, ports, airfields, and critical infrastructure across an enormous geographic area. This has forced NATO and other Western military planners to completely reconsider their defensive strategies. Air defense systems that were designed primarily to counter aircraft and short-range missiles are largely ineffective against low-flying cruise missiles launched from unexpected directions. And the fact that these missiles can be launched from submarines, which are inherently difficult to track and target, makes the threat even more challenging to counter. For the United States Navy, which has long enjoyed a monopoly on submarine-launched cruise missile capabilities with its Tomahawk missiles, the Kalibr represents the end of that exclusivity. Russia now possesses comparable capabilities and is exporting versions of the technology to other nations. Perhaps most significantly, the Kalibr gives Russia what military strategists call escalation dominance in regional conflicts. By being able to threaten high-value targets from standoff distances using conventional warheads, Russia gains the ability to inflict significant damage without immediately crossing the nuclear threshold. This creates a powerful deterrent against intervention in areas Russia considers within its sphere of influence. The U.S. naval intelligence community has recognized this threat, noting that the proliferation of Kalibr capability within the Russian Navy is profoundly changing its ability to deter, threaten, or destroy adversary targets. The missiles are being deployed on virtually all new Russian submarines and surface combatants, creating an ever-expanding threat envelope. The submarine advantage. Now, let's talk specifically about why launching these missiles from submarines is so tactically advantageous compared to land-based or even surface ship launchers. The primary advantage is stealth. Modern nuclear submarines are extraordinarily quiet, sometimes described as holes in the ocean, because they're so difficult to detect with passive sonar. Diesel-electric submarines running on batteries are even quieter. This means a submarine can position itself for a strike without the target nation even knowing it's there. This stealth factor creates strategic ambiguity and uncertainty. Potential adversaries must assume that Russian submarines armed with Kalibr missiles could be lurking in international waters near their coastlines at any time, ready to strike critical infrastructure or military facilities with little to no warning. Another major advantage is survivability. Land-based missile systems can be targeted by enemy strikes, and surface ships can be tracked and attacked by aircraft, other ships, or submarines. But a submerged submarine is extraordinarily difficult to find and target, meaning it represents a nearly assured second strike capability. There's also the diplomatic advantage. While parking mobile missile launchers on foreign soil requires the host nation's permission and creates political complications, submarines can operate in international waters without any foreign nation's consent. This gives Russia the ability to project power without relying on overseas bases or the cooperation of other governments. The Russian Navy has taken full advantage of these benefits by equipping its submarines with Kalibr missiles. The improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarines, which are remarkably quiet, can carry these missiles. So can Russia's nuclear-powered Yasin-class and Akula-class attack submarines, which combine stealth with virtually unlimited range. Deployment and Russia's submarine fleet. Russia's deployment strategy for its Kalibr-equipped submarines focuses on what naval strategists call bastion defense, as well as power projection capabilities. The Russian Navy operates several submarine fleets, with the Northern Fleet, based in the Arctic, and the Pacific Fleet being the largest. The Black Sea Fleet and Baltic Fleet also maintain submarine forces. Each of these fleets includes submarines capable of launching Kalibr cruise missiles. The improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarines have been the most visible platforms for Kalibr missiles in combat operations. These submarines, while lacking the unlimited range of nuclear submarines, are extraordinarily quiet when operating on battery power, making them ideal for stealthy operations in relatively confined waters like the Mediterranean or Baltic Sea. The Russian Navy currently operates approximately 6 improved Kilo-class submarines in its Black Sea Fleet alone, each capable of carrying Kalibr missiles. Additional units serve with the Northern, Pacific, and Baltic fleets. More capable still are Russia's nuclear-powered attack submarines, particularly the new Yasin class, considered by many Western analysts to be roughly comparable to America's Virginia-class submarines in terms of stealth and capabilities. Each Yasin-class submarine can reportedly carry up to 32 Kalibr missiles, enough to strike multiple high-value targets simultaneously. Russia's submarine deployment patterns have changed significantly since the introduction of the Kalibr. Russian submarines now regularly patrol areas from which they could launch missile strikes against critical NATO infrastructure. The Russian Northern Fleet submarines operating from bases in the Kola Peninsula can threaten targets throughout Northern Europe. Submarines from the Baltic Fleet can target much of Central Europe, while Black Sea Fleet submarines can reach targets throughout Southern Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. This deployment pattern creates a constant, unpredictable threat that NATO military planners must account for in their defense strategies. The simple fact that Russian submarines could be lurking off the coast, capable of launching missiles at any time, forces adversaries to maintain expensive and exhaustive anti-submarine warfare operations even during peacetime. Comparison with U.S. capabilities. How does the Kalibr compare with America's submarine-launched cruise missiles? It's a question worth exploring to understand the strategic balance. The U.S. Navy's primary submarine-launched cruise missile is the Tomahawk. The latest Block 5 variant has a range of approximately 1,000 miles, about 1,600 kilometers, which is comparable to the Kalibr's range. Both missiles are subsonic, both use sophisticated guidance systems, and both carry similar warhead sizes. Where the Tomahawk potentially has an edge is in its proven accuracy and reliability. With decades of combat use in multiple conflicts, the Tomahawk has demonstrated exceptional precision. It also benefits from constant upgrades and improvements based on this extensive operational experience. The Tomahawk also has the advantage of being integrated with the U.S. Navy's larger and more numerous submarine fleet. The US operates approximately 50 nuclear-powered attack submarines, most capable of launching Tomahawk missiles, compared to Russia's smaller fleet of approximately 15-20 Kalibr-capable submarines. However, the Kalibr does have some advantages. Certain variants of the anti-ship version can reportedly accelerate to supersonic speeds in their terminal phase, making them potentially more difficult to intercept. The Kalibr is also a newer design, potentially incorporating more modern technology in certain aspects. What's particularly significant is that prior to the Kalibr's deployment, only the United States possessed the capability to launch long-range precision cruise missiles from submarines. Now Russia has joined that exclusive club, fundamentally altering the strategic calculus. It's also worth noting that China is rapidly developing similar capabilities with its own long-range cruise missiles designed for submarine launch. The era of American monopoly on this capability has definitively ended. Future developments. Looking to the future, Russia has ambitious plans to expand and improve its submarine-launched cruise missile capabilities. Perhaps most significantly, there are reports that Russia is developing a new extended-range version called the Kalibr M. According to Russian defense industry sources, this new missile will have a maximum range of over 4,500 kilometers, nearly 3 times the range of the current Kalibr variants. This would be a game-changing development, allowing Russian submarines to threaten targets across entire continents from safe waters. A submarine in the Norwegian Sea could potentially hit targets anywhere in Europe. One in the Western Atlantic could threaten the entire eastern seaboard of the United States. The Kalibr M reportedly will carry a larger warhead as well, approaching 1,000 kilograms, or about twice the size of the current version. This would enable it to destroy even more hardened targets. However, there are skeptics even within Russia about the feasibility of the Kalibr M program. Some Russian defense commentators have noted that increasing the missile's size would make it too large to fit in the launch tubes of many Russian vessels, limiting its deployment options. Beyond the Kalibr, Russia is also developing hypersonic cruise missiles like the Zircon, which could potentially be adapted for submarine launch in the future. These missiles would be even more difficult to intercept due to their extreme speed. Russia is also expanding its submarine fleet, with plans to build more Yasen-class nuclear-powered attack submarines capable of carrying large numbers of cruise missiles. Each new submarine that enters service expands Russia's ability to project power using these long-range precision weapons. Defensive countermeasures. Given the significant threat posed by submarine-launched cruise missiles with ranges over 1,100 kilometers, what can be done to defend against them? The challenge is substantial. Defending against cruise missiles launched from submarines requires a multi-layered approach that begins with trying to locate and track the submarines themselves, a notoriously difficult task. The US and NATO maintain networks of underwater acoustic sensors, patrol aircraft equipped with magnetic anomaly detectors and sonobuoys, and nuclear attack submarines specifically tasked with hunting other submarines. But the ocean is vast, and modern submarines are extraordinarily quiet, making detection challenging even with the most advanced technology. If the submarine launches its missiles without being detected, the next defensive layer involves early warning systems that can detect the missiles in flight. Radar systems, particularly over-the-horizon radar, can potentially detect cruise missiles, but their effectiveness is limited against low-flying missiles designed specifically to avoid radar detection. The final defensive layer involves active interception using surface-to-air missiles or close-in weapon systems. Systems like the US Patriot, Russian S-400, or naval close-in weapon systems like the Phalanx can potentially intercept cruise missiles, but they must first detect them, a challenge when the missiles are flying just meters above the ground, and they can be overwhelmed by multiple incoming missiles. Ultimately, the most effective defense may lie in deterrence, maintaining the capability to respond to any missile strike with overwhelming force, thereby discouraging an adversary from launching such an attack in the first place. This is the fundamental principle of mutually assured destruction that has helped prevent major power conflicts since the advent of nuclear weapons. Conclusion. The submarine-launched Kalibr cruise missile, with its ability to strike targets over 1,100 kilometers away, represents one of the most significant developments in naval warfare in recent decades. It has transformed Russian submarines from stealthy underwater predators focused primarily on anti-ship warfare into long-range precision strike platforms capable of threatening targets deep within enemy territory. This capability fundamentally alters strategic calculations, creating new challenges for military planners and potentially shifting the balance of power in regional conflicts. The combination of a submarine's inherent stealth with the long reach of the Kalibr missile creates a persistent, unpredictable threat that adversaries must constantly guard against. For the United States and its allies, the proliferation of this technology means the end of their monopoly on submarine-launched cruise missile capabilities. It creates new vulnerabilities that must be addressed through improved detection systems, more robust air defenses, and potentially new deterrent strategies. The Kalibr's deployment also highlights the continuing relevance of submarines in modern warfare. Far from being relics of the Cold War, submarines armed with long-range precision weapons represent one of the most potent strategic assets a nation can possess in the 21st century. As Russia continues to refine and expand these capabilities, and as other nations like China develop similar systems, we are witnessing a fundamental transformation in naval power projection capabilities, one that will shape strategic thinking and military planning for decades to come. What do you think about these submarines and missile capabilities? Are they truly changing the face of naval warfare? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you found this information valuable, please support us by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel for more in-depth analysis of military technology and global strategic developments. Until next time, thanks for watching.